Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, is an American icon. But beneath the surface of this statesman lay a surprising past. Before he grappled with the weight of a nation, Lincoln grappled on a much different stage. He was a wrestler. Imagine the American frontier in the early 1800s. Growing up on the frontier, young Lincoln developed a powerful physique. Wrestling was a popular pastime, a test of strength, strategy, and sheer will. Lincoln quickly earned a reputation for his skill and toughness, becoming a local champion in New Salem, Illinois. Picture young Abraham Lincoln, a lanky youth growing up in the untamed wilderness of Indiana. Life on the frontier was a constant test of physicality, honing Lincoln's body and shaping his character. Wrestling was a primal test of strength and skill, a true test of grit and determination. Lincoln, with his long reach and surprising strength, was a natural, using his height to his advantage. At 19, Lincoln worked on a flatboat, hauling goods down the Mississippi River to New Orleans. The river towns were rough places, where disputes were often settled with wrestling holds. Lincoln, with his growing reputation, was a sought-after competitor. These matches were a proving ground where Lincoln learned to read his opponents and stay calm under pressure. By the time Lincoln settled in New Salem, Illinois, his reputation as a wrestler had preceded him. Lincoln, standing head and shoulders above most men, was an imposing figure. His wrestling prowess captivated the townspeople, and he became a force of nature on the mat. One particular match against Jack Armstrong solidified Lincoln's legendary status in New Salem. New Salem buzzed with anticipation on the day of the match. In one corner stood Jack Armstrong, the undisputed champion of Clary's Grove. In the other corner stood Abraham Lincoln, tall and lanky, with a quiet strength. The stakes were high. This match was about respect, reputation, and the very soul of New Salem. The two men circled each other under the summer sun. Armstrong, with his superior weight, tried to bulldoze Lincoln, but Lincoln was too quick and agile. The match raged on, with Lincoln using Armstrong's size against him, wearing him down. The crowd, sensing a turning point, went wild. The tide of the match began to turn. Lincoln, sensing Armstrong's fatigue, seized his opportunity and flipped him over his shoulder. Instead of pressing his advantage, Lincoln extended his hand to Armstrong, a gesture of sportsmanship. The crowd erupted in cheers, and Lincoln earned the respect and admiration of everyone present. The wrestling ring in New Salem may seem a far cry from the battlefields of the Civil War or the halls of Congress. But in those contests, Lincoln honed skills that would prove invaluable in his later life. Wrestling taught him the importance of strategy, perseverance, and humility. These lessons shaped his leadership style and his unwavering belief in the power of unity. The world of politics might seem a far cry from frontier wrestling, but for Lincoln, the skills he learned on the mat proved surprisingly transferable to law and government. The strategic thinking that allowed him to outmaneuver opponents in the ring served him well in the courtroom and political arena. The physical and mental toughness that Lincoln cultivated on the wrestling mat became his hallmark as a leader. The Civil War tested Lincoln and the nation like never before. The survival of the Union was at stake, and the weight of the conflict rested heavily on Lincoln's shoulders. Yet, throughout those dark days, Lincoln's spirit never wavered. He faced down opposition from both sides of the aisle, enduring criticism and setbacks with the same resilience he had displayed on the wrestling mat. Just as a wrestler must dig deep within themselves to find the strength to continue, Lincoln drew upon a wellspring of inner strength forged in the crucible of his youth. He had faced hardship and adversity before, and he knew that perseverance, determination, and an unwavering belief in his cause were the keys to overcoming any obstacle. Lincoln's wrestling background taught him the importance of strategy and timing. He knew that brute force alone would not win the war. He had to carefully choose his battles, to outmaneuver his opponents, and to strike at the right moment. He displayed this strategic brilliance in his handling of the war effort, carefully selecting his generals, making crucial decisions about troop movements, and ultimately leading the Union to victory. Throughout the war, Lincoln never lost sight of his ultimate goal, the preservation of the Union and the abolition of slavery. He fought for these ideals with the same tenacity and determination he had displayed on the wrestling mat, knowing that the fate of the nation rested on his shoulders. The political arena became Lincoln's new wrestling ring. His famous debates with Stephen Douglas, his chief political rival, were legendary battles of wit and intellect. Lincoln, the skilled orator, used words like grappling hooks, pulling his opponent off balance, exposing their weaknesses, and swaying the crowd to his side. In these debates, Lincoln's sharp mind and quick wit were on full display. He could dissect his opponent's arguments with surgical precision, exposing fallacies and contradictions with a clarity that left audiences astounded. He knew how to command a room, to connect with his audience on an emotional level, and to sway them to his point of view. Just as he had done on the wrestling mat, Lincoln approached these debates with a combination of strength and agility. He could stand his ground on points of principle, but he was also willing to concede points when necessary, always aiming for the bigger picture, the greater good. This ability to be both firm and flexible, to stand his ground while also seeking common ground, was a hallmark of Lincoln's political genius. His words, carefully chosen and powerfully delivered, resonated with the American people. They saw in him a leader who understood their struggles, who shared their values, and who possessed the strength and wisdom to guide the nation through its darkest hour. Abraham Lincoln's journey from the wrestling rings of rural Illinois to the White House is a testament to perseverance and character. His story reminds us that greatness can emerge from humble beginnings. The qualities of a champion wrestler, strength, strategy, resilience, and humility, are essential in a leader. Lincoln led the nation through its greatest crisis, preserving the Union and ending slavery. His legacy is a story of the human spirit overcoming adversity. He left the world a better place. Lincoln's life teaches us that true strength lies in character, integrity, and courage. The skills we learn in one area can be applied to others. Sometimes, unexpected experiences shape us profoundly. Even in great challenges, the human spirit can triumph. Tales of the Rail Splitter. Lincoln as a wrestler isn't confined to a single match. It's woven into his life, told in anecdotes from those who knew him. These stories offer glimpses into the man behind the legend. They paint a picture of a man comfortable grappling with ideas and opponents. One story tells of Lincoln, a young lawyer, traveling by stagecoach. Rowdy men challenged him to a wrestling match. Lincoln agreed and bested each challenger. On the side of a dusty road, Lincoln, in his suit, won the match. These stories speak to Lincoln's legendary strength and wit. As Lincoln's political star rose, his days on the wrestling mat faded into memory. But even as he grappled with the weighty issues of slavery and national unity, the lessons he learned in those early contests continued to shape his worldview and his leadership style. He understood the importance of knowing when to stand firm and when to yield, when to push forward and when to hold back. The America Lincoln led was a nation in flux, a nation grappling with its own identity. The issue of slavery had created a deep chasm between North and South, threatening to tear the country apart. Lincoln, the wrestler turned statesman, found himself at the center of this storm. He brought to the presidency a deep understanding of human nature, a keen sense of strategy, and an unwavering belief in the power of unity. His speeches, like his wrestling holds, were carefully calculated, designed to move his audience, to persuade, to inspire. And just as he had done on the wrestling mat, Lincoln never gave up, even when the odds seemed insurmountable. He fought for the preservation of the Union with every ounce of his being, knowing that the fate of the nation and the future of freedom hung in the balance. Today, long after Lincoln's time in the White House, his legacy as a wrestler continues to capture the imagination. It's a reminder that even the most revered figures in history were once flesh and blood individuals, shaped by the experiences of their youth. Lincoln's wrestling career, though brief, offers a fascinating glimpse into the character of the man who would become one of America's greatest presidents. It reveals a man of surprising strength and agility, a man who was not afraid of a challenge and who possessed a deep well of determination. But perhaps more importantly, Lincoln's wrestling career reminds us that leadership takes many forms. It's not always about wielding power or commanding armies. Sometimes it's about using your wits, your strength, and your compassion to navigate the challenges of life, both big and small. And in a world often divided by difference, Lincoln's story serves as a powerful reminder that even the most formidable opponents can find common ground, that even the most bitter rivals can shake hands at the end of the day, and that sometimes the greatest victories are won not through force but through understanding, empathy, and a willingness to see the humanity in everyone, even those we might consider our adversaries. History remembers Abraham Lincoln for many things. He is the great emancipator, the savior of the Union, the man who held America together during its darkest hour. We see his image everywhere, on our money, on monuments, in our history books. He is a giant, both literally and figuratively. But beneath the weight of his legend, it's easy to forget that Lincoln was once a young man, full of ambition and raw potential, finding his way in the world. His time on the wrestling mat, though just one chapter in a life filled with extraordinary achievements, offers us a unique lens through which to view this American icon. It reminds us that even those who achieve greatness start somewhere, that the lessons we learn in our youth can shape us in profound and lasting ways. Lincoln brought to the presidency the same tenacity, strategic brilliance, and unwavering determination that had served him so well on the wrestling mat. He faced down a nation divided, a war that threatened to tear apart the very fabric of America. With the same courage and resolve he had displayed as a young wrestler, facing down a formidable opponent. And just as he had extended a hand to his wrestling rivals, Lincoln sought to heal the wounds of a nation divided, to bind up the nation's wounds, and to forge a new path forward based on unity, justice, and equality. Lincoln's story is a powerful reminder that leadership is not about physical strength alone. It's about character, integrity, and a willingness to fight for what you believe in, even when the odds are stacked against you. It's about using your intellect, your empathy, and your understanding of human nature to navigate the complexities of the world. Lincoln's time on the wrestling mat may seem a world away from the battlefields of the Civil War or the halls of Congress. But the lessons he learned in those early contests, the importance of strategy, perseverance, and humility, stayed with him throughout his life, shaping the leader he would become and leaving an indelible mark on the nation he helped to save. The image of Lincoln, the wrestler, continues to resonate with us today, not just because it reveals a lesser-known aspect of this iconic figure, but because it speaks to something universal about the human experience. It reminds us that we are all shaped by our past, by the challenges we face and the choices we make. It reminds us that true strength lies not just in our physical abilities, but in our character, our values, and our willingness to stand up for what we believe in, even when it's difficult. We remember Lincoln for his words, his speeches that still resonate with their eloquence and wisdom. We remember him for his actions, his unwavering commitment to preserving the Union and ending slavery. But let us also remember him for his spirit, the spirit of a man who never backed down from a challenge, who never lost sight of his ideals, and who never forgot the lessons he learned on the wrestling mat. Lincoln's wrestling career, though seemingly a footnote in his extraordinary life, offers us a glimpse into the heart of a leader, revealing the qualities of strength, strategy, and humility that would define his presidency and shape the destiny of a nation. It reminds us that even in the midst of our greatest struggles, even when we are grappling with forces that seem insurmountable, there is strength to be found in our shared humanity, in our willingness to listen, to learn, and to find common ground. It is a legacy worth remembering, a legacy worth striving for, a legacy grappled and won, not on the mat but in the arena of the human spirit.